There can be few things more iconically Scottish than a Highland piper leading troops into battle. So today, I'm asking the question, who was the Piper of Loos? If you're interested in the people, places and events in Scottish history, then click the subscribe button at the bottom right of the screen and ring the notification bell to be told when I upload new videos. In the meantime, let me tell you a story. This is Swinton. Like most towns across the whole of the UK, it's got a memorial to those who sacrificed in the Great War. But as you look through the names in this memorial, the most famous son of the area isn't on it. But today, I'd like to tell you a story. The image of a piper leading troops into battle might be of Highlanders, but this is the Lowlands. England is just 3.5 miles that way. And our piper is a borderer. Daniel Logan Laidlaw was born on the 26th of July 1875. He grew up with 3 brothers and 4 sisters and would spend all his life in border country. School was in Berwick-upon-Tweed and then Laysbury, where he would become a baker's apprentice, and later, when he was 31, he'd marry Georgina. But what we're interested in is his military career. Daniel Laidlaw became a sodger at the age of 21. But we don't remember him today for his early service in the Durham Light Infantry, where he went off to India during the British Raj and was part of the efforts to deal with an outbreak of bubonic plague in Bombay in the late 1890s. We don't even remember him for his service after he came home and transferred to the King's Own Scottish Borderers as a piper. We don't remember him for his service when he was a reservist from 1912, as he did day jobs as a canteen manager, horse breeder, and contributed to the community as a scoutmaster. No, we remember him because of what he did after the outbreak of the Great War 2 years later. Piper Laidlaw immediately re-enlisted at the age of 39. He was once more a King's Own Scottish Borderer, whose museum behind me here in Berwick is going through a transformation and redevelopment just now, but the barracks are still open. Anyway, 5 months later, he was sent off to France. They landed in France in July 1915, and 2 months later would fight their first major battle. That is where Piper Laidlaw, at the age of 40, would become a celebrated war hero. Now, before we hear his story, can I remind you that I'll be doing work in progress versions of my show Scotland Made the World in the Stand Comedy Clubs in Edinburgh and Glasgow, both on the 19th of January, then on to Perth, Australia, Adelaide, Melbourne, Hobart, Canberra, Sydney, Brisbane, Auckland, Wellington, Christchurch and Dunedin. Click the link top right or in the description below for tickets. The Battle of Loos was a seminal moment in the First World War that achieved nothing. Seminal because it was the first big push, the biggest British attack of 1915. It was the first time that the British had used poison gas in an attack. It was also the first time that the British had used aircraft to bomb enemy targets. It was only the 3rd time that engineers had been used to tunnel and undermine German trench positions. Preparations left a lot to be desired. British field commanders didn't really think the ground was suitable for an attack, but were overruled by Lord Kitchener. Other advice would be overlooked before the battle was over. On September the 25th, British forces began with an artillery barrage, which was intended to disrupt the German lines and destroy the masses of barbed wire through which troops are going to have to charge. Canisters of poison gas were also launched towards German lines to disrupt human defences. Machine gunners being the most dangerous. This was in spite of engineers' concerns that they couldn't be sure of the wind direction. Insufficient artillery and ammunition meant that the bombardment was too short and ground wasn't cleared and defenders disrupted as planned. Changing wind direction meant that gas was wafting back towards the British trenches. Now this was the early days of gas masks, and soldiers often had to juggle the risk of blindness from the gas later with blindness from the steamed up gas masks in the face of fire now. At 6:30 in the morning, returned German artillery fire, along with the return of their own side's poison, meant that as the King's Own Scottish borderers waited for their instructions in the forward trenches, some began to cough and to choke and to succumb to the gas. A panic began to set in amongst the men. The company commander turned to Laidlaw and shouted, "Pipe them together, Laidlaw! For God's sake, pipe them together!" Now, if men breathing normally were starting to succumb to poison gas, God alone knows how it would affect a piper as he puffed up a sheepskin bag. But overlooking that risk, Laidlaw immediately climbed onto the parapet and began marching up and down the length of the trench in the sight of those undisrupted German machine guns. In Laidlaw's own words later, "I got over the parapet with Lieutenant Young. I at once got the pipes going and the laddies gave a cheer as they started off for the enemy's lines. As soon as they showed themselves over the trench top, they began to fall fast, but they never wavered, but dashed straight on as I played the old air that they all knew, Blue Bonnets Over the Borders. I ran forward with them, piping for all I knew. And just as we were getting near to the German lines, I was wounded by shrapnel in the left ankle and leg. I was too excited to feel the pain just then, but scrambled along as best as I could. I changed my tune to the standard on the Braes of Mar, a grand tune for charging on. I kept on piping and hobbling after the laddies until I could go no further, and then, seeing that the boys had won, then began to get back as best I could to our own trenches. Advancing over open fields within range of German machine guns and artillery meant huge casualties. One of the other debates amongst the Heed bummers was over how far away and how soon reserves should be deployed. They were too far and too late. The next day, the Germans had recovered and in places improved their defensive positions. A forward observation officer said of the battle, "The real tragedy of that battle was its nearness to success. Most of us who reached the crest of the hill 70 and survived were firmly convinced that we'd broken through. There seemed to be nothing ahead of us but an unoccupied and incomplete trench system. The only two things that prevented our advance into the suburbs of Lens were firstly, the exhaustion of the Jocks themselves. Secondly, the flanking fire of numerous German machine guns. They swept that bare hill from some factory buildings to the south of us. All that we needed was more artillery ammunition to blast those clearly located machine guns, plus some fresh infantry to take over from the weary and depleted Jocks. But alas, neither ammunition nor reinforcements were immediately available, and the great opportunity passed. But Daniel Laidlaw became known as the Piper of Loos. They tell me only 2 Victoria Crosses were handed out to pipers during the First World War. Daniel Laidlaw and Scots-born Canadian James Cleland Richardson. Laidlaw received his Victoria Cross from the grandson of Queen Victoria, George V, at Buckingham Palace in 1916 for most conspicuous bravery, prior to an assault on the German trenches near Loos and Hills 70 on the 25th of September 1915. The French awarded him the Croix de Guerre. He was awarded the Musicians' Company's Gold Watch by the Lord Mayor of London at the Mansion House reception. You can see his medals in the Military Museum in Edinburgh to this day. After the war, Laidlaw came back to the borders and lived in Northumberland. The people of Alnwick presented him with a gold-mounted walking stick, a cheque for £5 and war stock to the value of £60. He was a bit of a celebrity. He piped at various wartime concerts. His portrait was painted and he appeared in books and adverts. He piped at post-war events, like the interment of the unknown warrior in 1920. At the head of several marches to the cenotaph and at the World War II Victory Parade in London. He played himself in 2 films about the First World War, The Guns of Loos in 1929 and the 1933 Forgotten Men. Celebrity he may have been, but in those post-war years, regular full-time work was harder to find than occasional high-profile celebrity work. Just before the Second World War, he got a position as sub-postmaster. But when, on the 2nd of June 1950, at the age of 74, he died, he was buried in an unmarked grave in St Cuthbert's churchyard, Norham. There's a memorial plaque to this brave hero inside the church, but thankfully his grave wasn't forgotten. It took until the next century, but after efforts by the King's Own Scottish Border Museum, where we were in Berwick, and members of the Laidlaw family, a headstone was placed over the grave here and unveiled on the 2nd of June 2002. Here lies Daniel Laidlaw, the Piper of Loos. If you'd like to see other brave Scottish heroes of the Great War, then there's one coming up on screen now. Support the channel by clicking top right to become a Patreon member or buy me a coffee in the description below. In the meantime, ha mé an dóchas gún bí lá málaibh. Séirí an drast.